VP of eXp Luxury, and we are live here at eXpcon Vancouver with two amazing individuals, good friends and amazing realtors as well. John Zeier and Randy Dick have joined me because we are on the ground live here, and so much going on in Canada when it comes to luxury real estate. So guys, give a little introduction and tell us about yourself, and welcome.
Well, thanks for having me, Carrie.
Yes, love it.
I'm Randy Dick, and I live in the South Surrey area of Vancouver, and we have a wonderful luxury market in South Surrey. The market's a little bit challenging right now, as it is in many places, but from $20–30 million properties all the way down to that $1 million property in the South Surrey area, along the Pacific Ocean, I might add to that.
Well, I'm jealous. I mean, I do love the States. I love Nashville, Tennessee, but I mean, can you beat Vancouver? It's amazing and so gorgeous.
Isn't it beautiful out here?
I know.
Yeah, no, you caught a good week. My name is John Zeier from eXp Realty. Been here 7 years here at eXp. I live in Burnaby, BC, where there are a lot of luxury listings that we sell.
So what is, we talk a lot about price point, and, from a luxury standpoint, I've always said, it's not about price point, it is about service. But as realtors, we do, we love to get those listings. We love to service those listings. What is a true luxury price point in Vancouver area or in your area?
I would say for our area, where I live, Burnaby North specifically is where I live, and I live in Capitol Hill, where there are a lot of luxury listings. Once you get above that 2.5–3 million range, that's what we consider true luxury. And majority of them, the bigger houses will be 5–6 million in our area.
And so I have a funny story. I've been at eXp 2 years. When I first got here, the first eXpcon was my first week on the job.
Wow.
And I met you, John Zeier, in Toronto. And of course, no one knew me, and they're like, yeah, what are your credentials, lady? Like, what do you do? And I was like, I'm a luxury realtor, and I have been selling luxury real estate for 20 years. John's like, well, what's your highest priced property? Well, I came out of Nashville, Tennessee. So I'm like, well, 10 million. And he's like, well, that's not that much. And so that's how I met John.
I remember that conversation, but I didn't say, oh, that's not that much, because 10 million in Nashville is like
no,
40 here.
I'm just playing with you. But yes, absolutely. The different segments, of course, I'm from the U.S. market, and we do love to compare different, because even like, LA market compared to a Nashville, Tennessee, or a Miami market. So how do you do those comparisons up here? Vancouver's a big market, but how far outside of Vancouver is not luxury?
Well, that's a good question. We have such a diverse marketplace here in Vancouver, from being on the water to views, like all of that really transcends into price. And then you go out into the valley and you've got properties where it's more affordable. So there's so many different luxury markets within the Vancouver market area because of, British properties. Vancouver West, South Surrey, just so many different markets within literally a 45-minute drive.
And that's so true in any market. We get asked, what is luxury? And of course, my answer is always, it's the top 10% average of that marketplace, which is, how it varies throughout. So, of course, coming from the States and coaching a lot of agents, it's been a tough year. It's been a tough market overall, and especially when we talk about moving luxury properties, which is what we're hired to do, right? What does that look like here in Canada, or in Vancouver specifically?
Well, for myself, I think it all comes down to price. But here's the thing with luxury, you have to kick up your service. And that's why we belong to eXp Luxury, where you have all the portals marketing your listings for you. And they give you the tracking of where it appeared. So then we can show the seller, listen, this is what we did this last week. And we talked to this many people, posted on this many websites. And they're like, okay, well, if you've done this much work and it's still not happening, it's not selling, well, it comes down to one thing, and it's the price. But if you haven't done those things, if you don't have eXp Luxury behind you to help you sell these properties, it's tougher to have that price conversation because you haven't really done everything you could.
Right. Absolutely, and it does help with that. We still have to have those tough conversations.
Absolutely.
And Randy, I know you're so good at that when it comes to the scripting and just you have it dialed in. But tell us about some of those tough conversations. I know that is a big request we get on our end about how to do that. When do they come into play? Which I have a lot I could talk about this, but how would you give advice to newer agents out there having those?
And one thing I would just want to add to what John was saying is the tools and resources that we do have are exceptional. And when it comes to luxury, it is less about those specific price points because it's the marketing that really changes the perception of what the buyer sees in that property. So I think there's a little bit more flexibility on that versus some of the lower price points. But one thing that I always do, it's always about framing. Actually, having the seller understand what is going to happen step after step after step, but giving them the full movie.
Right.
Not just the beginning of the movie, but how the ending is going to be and all the steps that take place. So it's really about framing what that's going to look like throughout the whole process and giving them an action plan that is so detailed that they know on a specific day, Randy's going to be talking to us about this,
I love
whether
that.
it be price, whether it be marketing, whatever it is. So giving them that game plan.
And like you said, really setting the expectation up front instead of in the middle. And but believe it or not, we do see that's one of the number one pitfalls with agents is they get in the middle of the listing and then it's like, then what? And if you have already set I've never tried to take an overpriced listing, but if you have, we all have done it. But having that conversation up front saying, but if we can't get this price by this date, then we need to revisit it. But I think
I had that conversation this morning. I got a phone call during our session and I had to return the call and he says, we were going to talk on this day about price adjustment. He was already ready.
Wow.
He called me.
Yeah. And I love that, and I am finding in this market, sellers are still depending on us so much.
Absolutely.
They and again, I'm speaking from my side of the world, is not scared's not the word, but how do they move their property? They're asking us, how do I move it? And we know price is one of the biggest things, and pricing it correctly. So that is one thing I wanted. I know that our agents, ask about that a lot. Oops, and here I am. So I know usually we're on StreamYard doing this and we're live now, so you get to see all my bloopers. But anyway, I love that, and I love how much you guys move in the market here. Other things with luxury, it's not only servicing it, but once we get it, but going through the whole process of it. How have you built your business? What are some tips when it comes to how you prospect? I mean, you guys are both legends. You have, I believe that. You have built great businesses. It doesn't happen overnight. Luxury is definitely a niche, and it's one that if you stay in on it, it's definitely the gains are there. How have you built your businesses? If you had to speak to newer agents on that, what are some things they should be doing now?
Well, I think it's always back to the basics. You got to reach out and you got to do your lead generation. And I always think if you want to go to a higher price point, which I always aim to do, you have to set that goal first.
Right.
But then if your bread and butter is in that 800,000 million range, you can't give that up. But you want to spend 20% of your time going after the higher price points. So if you don't have any luxury listings right now, go and do open houses for the luxury listings that other agents have to get your name out there. Spend 20% of your time there and then 80% of your time in your bread and butter. And soon enough, that'll switch to 80 luxury and 20 in lower price point, which is what I did for the last 20 years.
I love that. And it's so true. We've talked out here, we've really unveiled, and for Canada, the Land and Ranch program, the New Homes program, and the Sports and Entertainment, and why all these divisions. And I'm so excited about them because they are all niches. Mm-hmm. Of course, the big one is luxury, and we could talk about that one all day, but really specializing in those niches, like you said, but never to give up your bread and butter. Because the question I've gotten from me is, you always say you're a luxury realtor. Have you ever had someone think you're too luxury to list their property? And I have, because that's how I've marketed myself. Have you? Yes. And how do you answer that?
Well, I bring it back to being authentic. because authenticity cuts through all of that crap pretty quick.
Yeah.
So authenticity, and then also knowing my own passion lanes and matching those passion lanes with the client's passion lanes is so important. And the other piece that is really important is understanding their personality traits. So doing something like a bank profile or a disc profile before you actually even connect and meet with them or on that ongoing basis. And then I do this. I build what I call a chameleon report.
I love that.
The chameleon sales report. So how do I need to speak, talk, act to really connect with this individual? And that gets me so many opportunities and miles ahead of where I would. So the success rate is much higher when I use the chameleon report.
Well, to me, that is a system that you have in place, and you have done it so well. And knowing those, what other profession do you walk into someone's home? You have no idea who they are, right? And we have nanoseconds to figure out who they are, and we are educating them on the biggest, purchase or sell of their life. So it is, I like that because it's a system in place. And I think so many realtors, wing it rather than have a system that goes in and sets them up for success. And as you said, so much of what we do at eXp Luxury is help with those systems, help with the branding, because there is so much to this business. So how many years in it? And tell us if you, again, we're speaking to agents out there in all companies all over the world of breaking into luxury. What's your advice for them?
Become the person first. It's be, do, have, right? So if you declare yourself, like I said, if you set a goal that, hey, my new price point is going to be 4 million, you become that agent first. So what do you need to do to become that agent? Sign up for eXp Luxury. First and foremost, immediately, you're in the luxury department. So I am a luxury agent. So if I keep affirming that, you're going to, so when you become that person, you're going to do the things that are consistent with a luxury agent, and then you're going to have the listings that a luxury agent has.
Yes.
But it's not the other way around. People do it like, I'm going to do these things so I have these things so I can become the luxury agent. Yes. I would say switch it around, become that person first.
Love that. Yeah. We've all heard of the borrowed influence, right?
Right.
And it's a great way to build your socials, borrowing influence. I go on with you, I get a lot of likes, right? That's borrowing influence. eXp Luxury, I believe, is that. And that's the simplest 100%. Way I can say, because I see agents that are stepping in every day that they have the skills, but they didn't have the brand behind them, or they didn't have a system in place, and that was the difference maker for them getting these larger listings that we're talking about.
It really took the skill for me, because when I first started at eXp, I was still doing 500 to 800. And once eXp Luxury came out, when I signed up, I was like, okay, well, we got the tools now, we got the resources. Now I have the mindset too.
Right.
So my price point immediately went up from, as an average, 890,000 all the way to 1.1 million.
Wow.
So, if you guys are thinking about this, it really gives you a lot of confidence. Again, it's be, do, have.
Yeah, and the confidence is key.
Yeah.
I agree. Randy, you're breaking in, you're starting over. How would you do it?
Well, I think John shared it really well, and it's about being confident. But how do you get confidence when you don't have confidence? Is proximity is power. And so I would join a luxury agent, a luxury team agent, to really cut my way into that. And I do a lot of video work. I do a lot of previews of homes in luxury and put that on social, and that would give me the confidence that I am actually a luxury agent. But tying that in with being on a luxury team would be the easiest way, I would think, to break into luxury.
Yes, and that ties in, we'll wrap up with social media. Social media, it seems so simple, but it's so important. And I know both of you just rock it out, both rock stars on it. It's intimidating to newer agents, but in the world we live in, like I tell them all, like get out your camera and start filming, start talking. It doesn't post. Advice on that, because I know you both have your niches and how you do it, your styles. We all have different styles, but we're putting ourselves out there. And I think you had a post, John, you were like, this is just me making myself do it today. Like there's days we don't feel like doing it. And especially now, these are guys, I'm the girl, I'm like, did I look right? Is it not perfect? And I had to get over it. Like, put it out there. It doesn't matter. This is who I am. This is how I talk. This is who I am. Advice on that.
I think take imperfect actions And that's exactly perfect. Because you're gonna get 1% better every single day as you take action. But if you don't take the first step and just start, you're never gonna know what it's
Right.
gonna be like. So, you know, if you look at my social media 10 years ago, you're gonna laugh at it. But today, it's okay.
It's
pretty
jamming.
good. But it got better.
Right.
And you will get better, but you have to start somewhere.
Absolutely.
So what do they say? You don't have to be great to start, but you have to start to be
good.
great.
Yes, that's good.
I'm going to say M3. This is a little saying I have. M3,
Right.
monumental making moments. And every time you turn that camera on, it is a potential monumental making moment. And you don't know which one's going to go. You have had some just go viral, and you had no idea they would go
No
viral.
idea.
Like, so make it a monumental making moment. Just think, it's M3, here I go. And just be authentic.
Y'all have dropped so many amazing nuggets. I absolutely love it. We have taken a break from eXpcon to really just deliver value. And hey, I love catching up with you guys. So thank you. We are Luxury Legends and Leaders live in Vancouver, and we will see you next time on Luxury Legends and Leaders.